go live button on now.
Declan, can you play a song to lead us in?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a premiere at the start of this though, Tim?
I don't know. Can you go to the stream now?
I'm on now.
Is anything happening?
1 minute 28.
Okay. We'll see what happens. If you just listen to the stream, Tim, if you can somehow mute everything else, can you see if you can hear Declan?
I've muted both you guys. Okay, so I'm just listening to the stream, but the stream hasn't started yet. It's just on the live Q&A with Tim and Tim. Oh, no, apparently Henry can hear us. So, we're live, everybody! We're doing it live! Oh wait, I've got everyone muted still. Declan, play the intro!
Oh, I thought I did. Okay.
We're live.
Thanks, Declan. I will
coming to you live.
I will now play. We won't call it live yet. It's still 8:59.
Oh, we're not live. Only but Henry can hear. I mean, Chucky Dog can hear us.
Chucky Dog can
hear we're live in 60 seconds.
Jimmy, let me know when we're live, because I can't tell.
Carve, Meester. I can't see any stream, but we have got questions coming in. Apparently, Chucky Dog can hear us. I don't know if he still can hear us or not. He says, hello, I can hear you. Hi. We have got questions rolling in. Half Meister is rolling in.
Okay.
We won't answer any questions just yet, just till we work out.
Okay. So
that we are live.
I'm now going to play the intro video. Are we live? Tim? Can you see on your stream?
I can't see it on the screen that we're live. It still says live in 60 seconds.
Okay.
But Chucky Dog assures us that we are live. Or maybe he was answering Halfmeister's question.
Are we live?
Well, we're just not sure. But I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I'm going to refresh the stream.
It does seem like we might be live.
I feel like... Oh, they can hear us.
Okay.
They can hear us.
Alright, well, but they can't see us yet. Because
they can't
I'm going
see
to play
us yet.
the introduction video right now.
Okay.
And that's the introduction video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this live chat with Tim and Poppy. If you're joining us now, you've probably just watched the fantastic Tim and Tim live show.
We don't have video yet.
Oh.
Okay. I think there's a delay.
Here we go. There we go. House of Spaghetti's just come up.
So there's a delay, everyone.
Maybe we should.
So don't.
Oh.
So just remember, there's going to be a bit of a delay. This is going so well. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Tim Kalia.
Stop watching the live stream, Tim. Oh, you're on the live.
Okay, I'm gonna get off that, but I will see.
I'll keep it up to answer the question. Do you want to introduce yourself, Floppy?
I'm Floppy. My name's Floppy, and I'm here to say I'm here in a major way.
Excellent. and who are you, little boy?
Sorry, what?
Who are you?
And I'm Tim Hodgson. Thanks for watching our show. There's 8 of you on the live stream right now. So, me, Tim Kalia, Declan's dad.
So we're basically
and who are you, Tim?
I said it earlier, but you weren't listening. My name's
did
Tim
you?
Carley. You should have
Sorry.
been watching the stream.
I was troubleshooting.
So we're just going to go through the live chat straight up. Let's go through the questions. So first off, what inspired you to make a show called The Live Show? Tim, if you can answer that one for us.
What inspired me to make the live show was, well, me and Tim met each other back in, like, this. Obviously, things were embellished for the show, but we actually met each other in 1990.
1990, 2019-96. This is the year, yes.
The year of our Lord, and we ever since then we had like a desire to put on a show of some sort, and it was many years in the making, but to put on something that kind of spoke to the common man, to put the working class, something, not just for the upper echelons of theatre.
I think the thing that really inspired the show was when we went and saw Jerby Verbosky's show. Do you remember that? It was at the Hampton Theatre. Yeah.
Oh, the Hampton Theatre in Darwin.
In Darwin. It was called That's Not Right. And it was a really interesting metaphysical performance. I thought that really kind of was an inspirational thing, like just to have a theatre program where there are no actors on stage, and the audience just comes in and they sit there. I thought that was a really tremendous experience.
You can see the influences from that show. It's definitely put into this.
So you had it here first, everyone. There's a shout out to Gerby Verbosy. Next up, next question. Did you really both die like you said? I believe I can pass this one on to our good friend Declan Brown.
There was a lot of controversy about whether the Tims actually died at the end of the production, and it reminds me of a time in all of our lives, I think, that we can kind of look back to fondly, where we all brought ourselves together to connect back to nature, really to just get back to where we're all from, and that is the desert. So we all went out to the desert as a collective, to become one with the potential that was inside us all. So it was a wild experience, and just coming back to that really does bring home the message that Tim and Tim, the live show, was trying to.
That reminds me of where we first got the idea from the show, which was when we went out to a park and we saw that tree. Do you remember that tree, Tim? We saw this tree, and we thought, now that's comedy, right there.
Yeah, I can remember now. It was a tree. It was in the middle of the arid lands, and it was a tree that had kind of grown sort of sideways, and we were like, imagine if we put on a show which went a bit sideways.
And that's where it really all
towards
begins.
the northeast.
That's really how it all starts. I mean, you can't really understand what the show is without that context.
Connor Mercury says, "Hello."
It's an interesting statement by Connor.
It's fantastic. Really appreciate that. Moving on to the next question from Harv Meister. Would you consider interning for Donald Trump's campaign for re-election? Brilliant question there. I'm going to throw that one to Tim.
Not to dampen the mood, but I feel like Donald Trump maybe has some blood on his hands recently. I think he's
big contributor to the amount of deaths in New York and the rest of America, and I would not intern for him unless I could try change things from the inside. But I feel like I would get too annoyed and wrapped up in it, and yes, I don't think I would. But would you, boys?
Well, that's what brings me to one of the things that really inspired the show, which was the presidency of Donald Trump. And I think
That's why we did it.
That's why we did it, because we all felt that the urge that we had to react to this, because something so horrific was happening, and you can see it. Like, I don't know. I think everybody can tell that the European sketch is a prediction of what happened during the pandemic crisis and what's happening in New York at the moment. I think we really predicted that. We knew what was coming. I understand why people are laughing during that sketch. Firstly, because it's not very funny, and secondly, because it is about
eugenics.
It's about eugenics. It really is. But anyway, thank you for that question, Harvmeister. That's incredible. Good insight.
Harvmeister.
Yeah, Harvmeister. So next question.
There's another question from Harvmeister.
Oh yeah, yes. No, you guys. No.
Yeah, has Tim C considered hiding toilet rolls in his hair?
Thank you for that.
I'm gonna hand that one over to Declan.
Well, I mean, I know from working so closely with these two Timothys that when the virus, when the pandemic, when the world was going crazy, that Tim would have considered hiding toilet rolls in his hair, but he actually cut all of his hair off slightly before the entire pandemic began.
Thank you.
So his hoarding efforts from the toilet rolls, from the perspective of the toilet rolls, was kind of marred by the fact that he'd gone through an artistic change and he'd taken all of his hair off and then put it in a bag and saved it for later. But we can now see that it's been restored to its former glory, which we're all very relieved about that, Tim.
That reminds me of one of the other initial ideas to making the show. Was when I was trapped in a toilet without any toilet paper, and Tim came to visit me, and he said something really funny. Do you remember what you said, Tim?
Yeah, I knocked on the door and I said, "Knock, knock! Look who's coming!"
And that's really where it all begins from. That's where the whole concept stems from, and you can see that. You can see that in the comedy.
The various entry and exit points of the stage were a direct correlation with that initial kind of, knocking on the door.
Yeah. You can hear it. Because, that's theatre. Moving on to the next question. Liam Mahoney says, what's in the mug?
What's in the mug?
What's in the mug?
What mug?
Could you have a look for me, Tim? Can you see what's in the mug?
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's really interesting. It's different. Do you want to look there?
Can I have a little pic of that mug? Yep. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Timothy. I don't know if the internet's ready for the mug just yet, so I'll give it back.
Who are you giving it to?
I'll take it.
Me?
I'll take it. Oh,
I'll take it.
So this is what's called a quantum entanglement, and that's where the idea for the Tim and Tim live show really stems from. Quantum entanglements. It was after we read Jeremy's book, Quantum Entanglements, and how they can affect you in the afterlife, and we thought, there it is. That's what we have to do. That's where the theatre comes from. And you can tell during the opening dance number with Tim and Tim is a reference to our mortality, and that quantum entanglement does exist, and many of us are experiencing it right now. So thank you so much for that question, Liam.
Was that Liam?
That was Liam.
Oh,
That's
good question,
what's
Liam.
in the mug.
Liam Mahoney.
Liam Mahoney. So now, from Connor Mercury, Tim, how is Tim? Tim, I'm going to throw that question to you. Tim, how is Tim?
Tim's doing great. Like yesterday, I saw Tim in the flesh. It was the first time in 2 weeks because we've been self-isolating. And what I did was, to prepare myself for seeing Tim, because it had been 2 weeks and I wanted to make a good impression, was I got 6 pieces of bread and I buttered them up and I put them in a parcel bag and I brought them to him, and he, wanting to impress me, bought $5 worth of hot chips, and then we both sat in the top of a tree and we shared each other's, we gifted each other's, like the Battle of at the Somme on Christmas Day, and I actually got to sit down with him and I asked him, Tim, how are you? And he said, I'm good.
And it's when we do our annual reenactments of the Battle of the Somme that we really get most of the ideas for our musical theatre comedy. I think that's where the songs came from. So I remember we used to do that every year. Because when we first began developing the show 15 years ago, we started, we were doing our yearly reenactment of the Battle of the Somme. And it was just like a rhythm in the way we were talking, and that's how Honky Tonk Boyo came around. I think one of our most famous songs that we really, I think it's really... the
songs, like, they started out as being old war type songs, and eventually they molded. What once was pack up your troubles in your old kit bag, smile, smile, smile. I'm a business boy who likes to party. I'm a business boy who likes to party. You can see like the evolution from these old wartime classics.
Yeah. It's funny, I don't understand why more people don't bring it up. I thought we were going to get a copyright strike for the usage of old wartime songs, but we didn't. I thought we might, but we really didn't. Moving on, how do you manage to pass a mug over the internet? That is a question for Google. I'm sorry, we're going to skip that one, Chucky Dog. Connor, I can't find my gluten-free wraps. Tim, where are they? I feel like this is a question directed purely to Declan. Declan, can you speak to this?
It's really a question for the ages, Tim. Gluten-free wraps are conceptually are they even real? Is gluten real? Is gluten intolerance? Well, no, gluten intolerance is real, but where are the wraps? Who made the wraps? That's the question I'm really asking. And why was there so much rapping in the Tim and Tim show, Tim? I'll hand that one over to you.
Which one? You're not pointing at any. That's the...
Wait.
I'm going to use this moment just to play the introduction video once again. Excuse me one moment. And we're back. And the reason why there is so much rapping, Declan, I believe you can answer this question. I think passing that one straight back to you.
Rapping is really, I know that you two both have deep connections to hip-hop music with your upbringing in Port Lincoln. So I think when we were really thinking about the composition of the tracks in the Tim and Tim live show, we looked back to those times and thought, what can you say, really? The Tim and Tim show is just a pure tour de force of rhythm, of rhyme, and of lyrical stylings that just it just can't be denied. I'm just surprised that the gluten-free wraps just aren't able to be found in the location where they may have been before.
I don't even
Hmm?
understand that question.
Well, Tim, I'm surprised you would say that, because that brings me to where we first came up for the idea for the Tim and Tim live show was those gluten-free wraps we saw in that little. It was a Burgundian rest stop. I'm sure you remember when we went on that hike in Burgundinia, and there were these wraps, and they were called Tim and Tim live show, a 45-minute fringe spectacular, and I think that was definitely where we got the title. Whether it be this translation, but it just felt right. It just felt like a moment that was meant to happen. I would like to have a moment of silence for the people of Burgundinia who do not exist. And during this moment of silence, I will play the introduction video.
Silence, Tim.
I don't know when the video is on or when it's over.
The video is back. The video is back.
Is it?
The people can
Wait.
hear. Moving on to the next question.
Drinking digital wine. Impressive. Halfmaster's coming up with hard-hitting questions. Who is Halfmaster?
I have a feeling it's Harvey.
Is it Joel Harvey?
Is it Joel Harvey, or is it my
Is
uncle
it your
Harvey?
friend Harvey?
My uncle Harvey.
Your uncle Harvey. Oh.
I'm sure we'll find out at a later date. But there's another question. It's the last question we have at the
It's the
moment.
last question.
But we do have some. I know Dequan
We've
was
still got
emailed
9
the question
minutes
the other
left.
day.
There's Q&A.
Where is Declan right now? Declan, I will actually pass this one to you.
Well, Tim, from the dividends of the Tim and Tim show that we all received, it was quite an illustrious time for myself and
A bird
Tim.
just landed on the outside.
Yep. Yeah, I own that bird because I purchased it with the dividends, and I also was fortunately able to purchase using my impressive profits this hillside in Scotland. So I'm in the Highlands of Scotland,
Oh, wow.
joining you from my new estate.
That's beautiful. With my dividends, I bought this here small boy's wetsuit, which incidentally is for sale on Facebook Marketplace right now for $10, or you can come to me directly, same price. Or does this motorbike?
That's a pretty nice motorbike.
Also
what is-
$10.
$10.
Or there's a box of 40 summer rolls. $10 each.
What about you, big puppy head Tim?
Yeah,
What
it's interesting to talk about these dividends. I remember not receiving any, and rechecking the contract that did have a 50-50 split of the quite large profit. I was surprised by the amount of profit. 50-50 split between you, Declan, and Tim, which I was surprised by initially. But it's fine. It's not hurt me in any way. I mean, I haven't been able to buy any mountains, but you live and you learn. And I've started reading again. Just the odd contract. I was reading a contract to do with a parking violation the other day. And from these, I'm gradually learning how to read the small print and to not let your friends basically steal the profit of, or steal your share of a profit of something you worked quite hard on. I distinctly remember
to learn, Tim, I think.
Yeah, I distinctly remember the 6 months following Tim and Tim live show. I had bought a house with the funds that I thought I was going to receive.
It was a
But-
nice house too.
It was a really lovely house. I don't have it anymore because I didn't have the money for it. And I think you learn a lot living on the street. You really learn